Clans of Caledonia is an economic area control strategy game where players take on the roles of Scottish clan chiefs, competing to produce, trade, and export more agricultural goods than their opponents in 19th century Scotland. This game is for 1 to 4 players but plays best with 4. Games will last about 30 minutes per player and the difficulty rating is 3.4 out of 5. Thank you to Juma al-joujou, the designer of Clans of Caledonia, for sponsoring this video. I'll be explaining how to play with 2 to 4 players, but there's also a solo variant which you can check out in the rulebook. To begin, grab the 4 double-sided map modules and randomly choose a side for each. Connect them so that these rocks are next to each other in clockwise alphabetical order. Now shuffle the port bonus tiles and randomly place 4 of them face up next to the factories in the 4 corners of the game map. In a 2-player game, place them adjacent to this arrow, and in a 3 or 4-player game, place them adjacent to this one. Put the remaining port bonus tiles back in the game box. Next, place the market board and export board near the game map, making sure the correct side is face up according to the current number of players. On the market board, place the 6 transparent price markers on the 6 circled spaces. Now shuffle the scoring tiles and randomly place 5 of them in the slots on the edge of the export board. Put the rest of them back in the game box. Also, shuffle the 50 export contract tiles and place them in a face-down stack next to the export board. Randomly draw tiles from this stack and place them face up on each of the empty boxes. If you're playing with 3 players, don't place one in this box as indicated. At this time, everyone should grab all of the game tokens and port markers of their chosen color, and should also take a player board, player aid, and an export box tile. To set up your player board, place all of your sheep, cows, cheese dairies, bakeries, fields, and distilleries on their designated spaces. Now place your 8 workers, 4 in the forest locations, representing woodcutters, and 4 on the mountain locations, representing miners. Fill your merchant track with 5 cubes representing merchants, and keep the 2 extras in front of yourself to begin your stock. Place your shipping token on the first spot of your shipping track, and finally place 2 technology tiles under your woodcutters and miners, ensuring that they're flipped to the hatchet and pickaxe sides. Keep your player aid handy, and also place your export box, ensuring that it's flipped to the correct side. Place each player's glory token and also the cotton, tobacco, and sugarcane tokens next to space 1 of the export board track. For the first round, turn order will begin with the starting player and continue clockwise around the table. Randomly determine the starting player and place all players' turn order tokens accordingly on the turn order track of the export board. Now shuffle the clan tiles and place 1 more tile on the table than there are players. Then randomly place 1 starting tile next to each of the clans. Place the remaining clan tiles and starting tiles back in the game box. Each clan has a special ability which you'll be able to use throughout the game. See the appendix in the back of the rulebook for a description of each ability. Beginning with the last player and going in reverse turn order, each player will choose and assume the role of 1 clan for the duration of the game, placing their chosen clan in front of themselves along with the goods and the money, called pounds, shown on their starting tile. It's important to note that players may never hide any information from other players, so keep your stock of goods and pounds visible. Now it's time to start placing some initial workers. Whenever you place a unit onto the game map, including right now, there are 2 different costs you need to pay for that unit. The first cost can be found at the top of that unit's column on your player board. The second cost can be found on the game map space where you plan to place that unit. Beginning with the starting player and continuing in turn order, each player will place a worker, i.e. a woodcutter or a miner, from the top of its respective column onto an empty space on the game map, paying the unit cost plus the land cost for that unit. Then, in reverse turn order, each player will place a second worker of their choice, paying the cost for that unit as well. Unlike placement rules for the remainder of the game, this second worker does not need to be neighboring your first worker. There are a few unit placement rules to be aware of. Woodcutters may only be placed on a space containing a forest, miners may only be placed on a space containing a mountain, and every other type of unit may only be placed on a space containing grasslands. Many spaces, like this one, contain multiple land types and thus may support multiple different types of units. But only 1 unit is ever allowed on any given space. In a 2-player game, the shaded land spaces on the edge of the map are not active and you may not place units there. However, lock spaces on the edge of the map are still active and may be used. Now that the game is all set up, it's time to begin. A game of Clans of Caledonia will last for 5 rounds, represented by the 5 scoring tiles on the edge of the export board. Each tile gives a different bonus at the end of its respective round. See the appendix for more detailed information. Each of the 5 rounds is split into 4 phases. Phase 1, Preparation. This phase is skipped the first round. We'll come back to it in a minute. Phase 2, Action. Beginning with the starting player and continuing in turn order, each player will carry out exactly 1 action. This continues around and around until all players have passed. There are 8 possible actions. Each one is briefly described on your player aid. Action 1, Trade. The merchants in your stock are used to trade goods on the market board. To do so, choose one good type and place some or all of the merchants you have in your stock on either the buy area or the sell area of your chosen good. These merchants will remain on the market board until the next round. You may not have your own merchants in both the buy and sell areas for a certain good at any time. If buying, take one good for each merchant you placed in the buy area and pay the current price for each of those goods. After that, move the price marker up a number of spaces equal to the number of merchants you placed. Selling works similarly. For each merchant you place in the sell area, remove one of that appropriate good type from your stock and receive the current price for each of those goods. After that, move the price marker down a number of spaces equal to the number of merchants you placed. You may only trade one type of good per turn. If you wish to trade multiple types of goods, you'll have to save some of your merchants in order to take the action again on a different turn. Action 2. Obtain one export contract. Choose one of the available export contracts and place it in your empty export box. Each round has a different cost to pick up this export contract. You can find that cost here, next to the current round. In round 1, you actually gain 5 pounds each time you pick up an export contract. You know this because the number depicted within the coin on round 1 is black. If the number depicted on a coin is red, it means you have to pay that cost. Each export box can hold one export contract. It is impossible to remove it from your box until it is fulfilled. You can fulfill an export contract with a 7th action. More on that in a minute. Action 3. Expand. Place one unit from the top of its respective column onto an empty space on the game map and pay its costs. This space must be neighboring or within shipping reach of one of your existing units. An adjacent space is considered neighboring if there is not a river dividing them. At the beginning of the game, you cannot deploy units across rivers because your shipping will be too low. More on shipping in a second. There are 2 different bonuses you can potentially receive during your expand action. Let's go over them now. Neighboring bonus. Every time you expand into a space neighboring an opponent's unit, meaning there's not a river between you regardless of your shipping level, you get a neighboring bonus, which gives you a one-time opportunity to take the trade action for free. There are a few limitations to this trade action. You must buy, you may not sell, and you may only buy the type of good that is produced by your opponent's unit. Your unit will have no influence on what you may buy. But the benefit is that the cost of this good will be greatly reduced for you. Basic goods, that's wool, grain, and milk, shown on the left half of the market board, are reduced by 2 pounds each, while the cost of processed goods, that's bread, cheese, and whiskey on the right half, are reduced by 3 pounds each. You may buy up to 3 of this good during your neighboring bonus, or in a 2-player game, you may buy up to 4. Building bonus. If you ever deploy your 4th cheese dairy, bakery, or distillery, and your export box is currently empty, you immediately get a building bonus, as shown here on your player board. Draw 3 export contract tiles from the top of the draw pile. You may keep one or discard them all. After you pay the cost, place it into your export box. There's also another bonus in the game called the port bonus. This bonus may be used on any turn before or after you do any action, regardless of whether or not you did the expand action. During any turn, if you ever have a unit neighboring or within shipping reach of one of the port bonus tiles, you may take advantage of that port tile's bonus for free. Check the appendix for a description of these tiles. Each player may use each port bonus tile only once during the game, so place one of your port bonus markers near the tile to indicate that you've used it. Action 4. Upgrade shipping. Pay 4 pounds and move your shipping marker forward 1 space. This spot of the shipping track unlocks the ability to expand to the other side of rivers. This does not mean those spaces are neighboring, it just means that you now have the ability to build over there. These spaces on the shipping track allow you to expand across 1, 2, 3, or 4 lock spaces. For example, if I have a unit here and my shipping reach is 2, I may now deploy a unit on a space separated by up to 2 lock spaces. Note, this does not let you hop over land spaces, only lock spaces. Action 5. Upgrade technology. During the production phase, your workers are going to provide you with a certain amount of money. If you upgrade your woodcutters or miners' tools, you'll get more money. To do so, pay 10 pounds and flip one of your technology tiles over. From now on, you get the amount of money shown on the right side of the worker track as opposed to the left side. Action 6. Hire a merchant. Pay 4 pounds and add the leftmost merchant from the merchant track to your stock. This merchant may now be used to buy or sell on the market board during a future trade action. Action 7. Fulfill an export contract. Export contracts cost a certain amount of goods to fulfill, shown on the left side of the tile. Once fulfilled, they provide the rewards shown on the right side. The required goods are paid from your stock, but if a contract requires meat, you must remove 1 cow per beef and 1 sheep per mutton from the map and place them back onto your player board. You cannot stock beef or mutton, so your animals may only be slaughtered when you're fulfilling an export contract. After you pay the cost, you will receive the rewards depicted on the right side of the tile. These rewards will be in the form of import goods or direct bonuses. Import goods are not an actual good you receive into your stock. Instead, they provide an endgame bonus. Hops are always worth 1 point each, but cotton, tobacco, and sugarcane will be worth 5, 4, or 3 points each at the end of the game, depending on how many of them the players collectively possess, i.e., depending on how rare they are. When you receive import goods, it is crucial that you move the corresponding token forward on the export track by as many as you have on the tile. At the end of the game, the import good that is furthest behind is considered the rarest good and will provide you with 5 points for each one you have on your completed export contracts. The others will give you 4 or 3 points. Additionally, when you're moving an import good token, if you land on or move past one of the marked spaces, you receive a 1 pound bonus. Direct bonuses come in 3 types. Money is taken immediately from the supply. Free space allows you to immediately take the expand action and you don't have to pay the land cost. You'll still have to pay the unit cost, however. And bonus upgrade lets you choose one of the following: hire a merchant for free, or take one merchant back from the market board and put it in your stock, upgrade your shipping for free, or upgrade one of your technologies for the reduced cost of 5 pounds. Action 8. Pass. Finally, if you cannot or do not wish to continue taking actions this round, you pass. Move your turn marker to the leftmost space of the next turn order track and take the amount of money indicated there. During the following round, consult the turn order track for the new order in which players will take their turns. Phase 3. Production. Look for all of the revealed income icons on your player board and take the depicted resources. First, each woodcutter earns you 4 pounds, or 6 with the technology upgrade, and each miner earns you 6 pounds, or 8 with the technology upgrade. This handy illustration does the math for you. Just take the amount of money listed on the bottom-most revealed space of both worker columns. Second, produce your basic goods. Each sheep produces 1 wool, each cow produces 1 milk, and each field produces 2 grain. Add these to your stock. Third, you may use your deployed buildings to convert basic goods in your stock into processed goods. Each deployed cheese dairy may convert exactly 1 milk into 1 cheese, each bakery may convert exactly 1 grain into 1 bread, and each distillery may convert exactly 1 grain into 1 whiskey. Phase 4. Scoring. Each round has a scoring tile. Each player who fulfilled the conditions shown on the top half of the tile will receive the glory bonus shown on the bottom half by moving their glory marker around the glory track on the export board. The next round now begins with Phase 1, Preparation, which was skipped the first round, but let's go over it now. Flip the previous round's scoring tile face down, refill any empty boxes on the export board, and every player takes their merchants back from the market board, adding them to their stock. Games will continue for 5 rounds, and then final scoring commences. Each player will get a number of points equal to their location on the glory track, 1 victory point for each basic good in their stock, 2 victory points for each processed good in their stock, 1 victory point for every 10 pounds in their stock, and 1 victory point for hops shown on each of their completed export tiles. Each imported good, cotton, tobacco, and sugarcane, on their completed export contracts will provide points according to rarity. In this example, players have collectively imported a total of 12 sugarcane, 9 cotton, and 5 tobacco. Tobacco is the rarest, so each tobacco you have on your completed export contracts will be worth 5 points. Cotton will be worth 4 points each, and sugarcane will be worth 3 points each because it is the most common. If there's ever a tie between 2 or more import goods, the rulebook says cotton is the rarest, followed by tobacco, then sugarcane. The player with the most completed export contracts gets 12 victory points, and the player with the second most gets 6. In a 2-player game, the highest player gets 8 victory points and the other player gets nothing. In case of a tie, evenly divide the victory points of the respective tiers among the tied players, rounding down if necessary. The final step to scoring is calculating how many settlements you have within shipping reach of each other. What are settlements? Each neighboring cluster of units in your color is considered 1 settlement, even if that cluster is made up of only 1 unit. Remember, neighboring means that they are adjacent and do not have a river between them, meaning this cluster of units is actually 2 separate settlements. Once you've identified all of your settlements, see how many of them are connected by your shipping. The player with the most connected settlements gets 18 victory points. Second gets 12 victory points, and third gets 6 victory points. In a 2-player game, the player with the most connected settlements gets 12 victory points, and the other player gets nothing. Note, settlement scoring has nothing to do with how big a settlement is or how many spaces a player has units on. Add up all the points, and the player with the most points is the winner. And that's your No BS guide on how to play Clans of Caledonia.